Hello. Welcome to Horror Mom. Yes, if you're watching me, then you can see my little friend. I have a Krite here. He looks so real. When I walk in this room, I'm in my office / guest room, and actually, bro has got some, you see? These little claws are actually pretty sharp. But like when I walk in this room, I'm in my office / guest bedroom. When I walk in this room every day to grab the vacuum to clean out the cat litter in my laundry room every day, I walk past this dude and it's a little spooky, but he's actually really cute. Danny got this. Danny is my husband. He got this for me on Etsy. Somebody makes them on there. Yeah? Pretty cool. So I've been wanting to start a horror collection for a long time. And this dude is my first piece to my horror collection, which hopefully will be quite extensive. But Critters, I'll do a whole episode on Critters, all the Critters movies. But Critters, the original movie, is one of my all-time favorites, forever and ever. I was so sad that I didn't get to go to the Horror Scarefest. It's a horror convention in Lexington, Kentucky. This past October, I couldn't go because I got sick. I was supposed to get a picture with Dee Wallace, who plays the mom, and I couldn't do it. I was so sad. But I think that this guy is the perfect first piece to my horror collection. Okay, I put him away. Also, I am very festive. I have my Merry Krampus sweater on. I have my Santa hat, earrings in. I think today is December 12th that I'm recording this. And, you know, I gotta make Christmas creepy. I have to. It's just who I am. It's in my soul. But tonight, we're talking about Bones and All. I saw this movie over Thanksgiving break in the Destin Commons with my little sister at the AMC Theater, which used to be called, my sister unlocked this memory for me, it used to be called The Rave back in the day. If anybody is from Panhandle or vacations in Destin, Destin's a pretty big vacation spot. We had a beautiful view of the Gulf, and I just stared at it and just felt like I could look at it for the rest of my life and never leave. And actually, so many memories were unlocked during my Thanksgiving visit to Destin because I lived in a small town like an hour from Destin, and if you wanted to do anything, the place to go was Destin. And I think the last time that I was at the movie theater was my first date with my now husband. We went to go see Superman Returns. And then we went to Ruby Tuesdays after, and he got a chili burger. I remember this because he talked about afterwards, like, how it was a terrible decision to get a chili burger for a first date. And then I got this, like, pasta dish that was part marinara, part Alfredo sauce with chicken. It was delicious. I think a lot of Ruby Tuesdays closed down, but I've seen some that are still in existence during my travels to get back to the South from Seattle. I moved from Seattle to Nashville back in May. Anyway, it was so funny because, so that night was such a fun night. It was just me and my sister. We went to eat this place called Pepitos, and I've not had some decent Mexican food in a long time because Seattle cannot do Mexican food. But Florida has some pretty good Mexican food, at least in my opinion, because I grew up a lot of my life there and I've become accustomed to that taste. So I had 2 soft shell flour chicken tacos at Pepitos before we went to the movie, and I was feeling good. But my sister, ever since she had her kid, and bear in mind, her kid is 10. My sister, bless her, I think she's not been diagnosed, but truly, I think she has narcolepsy because she will fall asleep anywhere at any time. If it's quiet and she's not doing anything and she's just sitting still, she will fall asleep. So she kept falling asleep multiple times during the movie, and it was so funny. I tried to get a picture of her, but she woke up when the movie got loud. She pretty much got the gist of the movie, but she fell asleep like during some wild times. We went to a really late movie because my sister got off of work like 6:30ish, and then she had to drive from her job to the condo, and then we had dinner. So we went to a 10 o'clock movie, 10 p.m. movie. And when that movie got out, there was no employees in sight. And I panicked for a second because we couldn't get the front door open right away. And I thought that we had been locked in. It was wild. There was nobody around. The Commons was completely empty. It was like after midnight that the movie got out. And we were walking from the theater back to my sister's car because she drove. We were laughing. Like, nobody makes me laugh like my sister. She makes me laugh so hard that I cry and like physically hurt from laughing so much. So we had some really great memories because she's my movie buddy. She will go and see a creepy movie with me. She's always down. So I'll give a bit of a summary for the movie, and then we will get into the spoilers. So the story is about a young woman. She's a cannibal. And apparently I'm not that bright because I just saw somebody talk about this movie who didn't like the movie say that it's an allegory. I've heard the word, don't know what it means, for addiction, which, okay, I guess, but I didn't think about that. My mind, I guess, doesn't work in that way. Because I just had so many questions about, I thought it was vampires and then it was cannibals. I'm like, but wait, why are they cannibals? Anyway, a young woman whose dad abandons her at 18. And then she meets other cannibals along the way to try and find her mother. And these cannibals, when they're within a certain radius of each other, they can smell each other. So, but I have questions, you know? They seem to need flesh to live. Where does this come from? You know, like when they're younger, they cannot do it for longer periods of time, but then like what? Like I got the gist that throughout the movie you have to do it as you get older. I don't know, but it doesn't seem, I'm just so confused. Like once again, it's similar to apocalyptic movies or like plague movies, zombie movies, where I'm more concerned about why did it start? Where did this come from? Versus the movie just really is about the chaos and about the survival and about, you know, that's pretty much what it's about. But I want to know the backstory. I'm like, how did this happen? Where did it come from? That's what I want to know. And this question, this movie does not answer that question. I might be the only, it might not be the point. Maybe it's not the point. I don't know. Because people smarter than me understood that it was a metaphor about drug dependency. So, but I really did find the movie engaging the whole way through. And I liked the ending. The ending was brutal, but it was fitting. And it's very original, which I always appreciate. So hopefully that didn't spoil it too much. That's basically the gist. It centers around the girl that I was talking about, the woman, the 18-year-old woman, and one other cannibal in particular who's her love interest. It's kind of a love story, but it's a great movie. Apparently not everybody thought so. Like I said, I saw somebody talk about it last night and they did not like it, but I liked it all the way through and the ending was satisfying to me. So I would recommend, but if you want to hear about the spoilers, just keep listening. So, bones and all literally means to eat somebody, bones and all. Apparently, this is like the where a cannibal aspires to get to. Apparently, it's not easy to do. I guess most cannibals leave the bones, but I guess you've made it if you can eat bones and all. Is what I guess. Is what I gather. Let's run down the main characters. Marin, who is the 18-year-old main character. Her dad could no longer handle her after she's at this sleepover and bites off one of her I was going to say coworker, one of her classmates' fingers. And this is just kind of the last straw of all the incidents that had happened throughout her life, because when she was a kid, she murdered her babysitter. Like when she was a toddler, she ate her babysitter. And that was the first time that the dad realized that she was a cannibal. And then there's another incident because her dad makes this tape after he abandons her to explain everything to her. And she also, he made the wrong decision to send her to summer camp. And she eats one of the other campers. So this always caused them to be on the run. And I guess he figured, I will sacrifice until you're 18. When you're an adult, you're on your own. So he left Maren her mother Janelle's birth certificate, because her mother Janelle is also an eater. And he figures, well, she should probably figure out where she comes from, find another eater like herself. And so she sets out on her search. Her dad leaves her a little bit of cash. She sets out on her search to find her mom. Next character, Lee. He is Maren's love interest. They smell each other at a store where it appears that Maren is shoplifting supplies. He has this really messed up history with his dad, who is also an eater, and we'll have more on that a little bit later. The next eater in our wheel of weird characters is Sully. Sully is the weird fucker that Maren first encounters, who supposedly he doesn't actively kill who he eats. Rather, he sniffs out who is about to die and then chills in their house as they lay there and proceed to die. And so that's what happens. When he smells Maren, she's outside this house of this old woman who he is waiting to die. He invites her in, appears to take her under his wing. And when the old lady finally kicks the bucket, they dine together. But he's 3 times Maren's age. And you're at first, like I said, he appears to be this older father type who's going to take her under his wing and really show her the ropes. But after they eat and they're showering in separate showers, she comes out to hear him singing some weird ass song about brown eyes, some woman with brown eyes. It sounds like a love song, and it sounds like it's about her. So she gets the fuck out. He becomes obsessed with her and stalks her while she is with Lee. And it doesn't end well, unfortunately. So, Maren's mother, Janelle, she, surprise, surprise, is institutionalized. And she has been institutionalized voluntarily. Her mother was actually adopted by a woman. And that's pretty much all we know about her mom. The thing about Maren's mom is, I guess her dad and her mom met at college and then got together really young, had Maren, and then her mom, Janelle, was scared that she would hurt her and then went away and became institutionalized. Now, Maren and Lee, initially, you can see that they're both into each other from the beginning. They spend a little bit of time together before Lee decides to join Maren on her journey to go find her mom. And they are cannibals with a conscience. And they try to find people that nobody will miss. Nobody with kids, nobody with, somebody to love them and to miss them. So while at a carnival, Maren is hungry. And Lee is going to find her somebody to eat. So he meets eyes with this man who is behind one of the booths, and that he is his next target. Lee tells him he's going to meet him later, and when he does, he takes him out into the cornfield. And then you start hearing some noises. Marion goes to find out what's the holdup, and she finds Lee engaging in a sex act with his food. And at this point, okay, so right before the dude finishes, Lee slits his neck, which that's kind of messed up. At least let him finish first, but I digress. Now, when I see that, I feel like Marion and Lee by this point are already kind of like in a relationship. Like, I don't know if they've talked about being exclusive. Are cannibals exclusive? I don't know. But I wonder if that upset her seeing him doing a sex act with somebody else. Because afterwards we find out that this guy is actually married with a kid. And they find that out because in his car, on the visor, he has pictures of his family. Also, they go to his house because they think that he's got nobody, and they're, that's kind of their MO. They'll kill somebody, find out where they live, and just basically go and hang out for a little bit there and use all their stuff. But when they get there, they see this worried woman with a kid who is frantically trying to figure out where her husband went. So Marion is upset, and I wonder how much of that is because Lee was having relations with somebody else, and how much of it is because the person he was having relations with wound up having a wife and kid, or maybe was it both? At some point along their journey, they meet two really creepy eaters. You get Deliverance vibes, which, by the way, I need to watch Deliverance. I've only just Googled the one scene that Deliverance is really famous for, but I need to watch it all the way through because it's obviously a classic. But they come across these two eaters, and the eaters tell their story of how they met. And come to find out, one of them is an eater by blood and the other is an eater by choice, because the natural eater was in the woods eating somebody, and the cop comes along, and the cop is intrigued and allows this eater to continue, and then decides that the cop decides that he wants to become an eater. They call themselves eaters. Cannibals, eaters, same thing. Which is really weird. And I guess they're like a couple. I guess they're together. I don't really know. It seems like they are. But Lee and Marion go back to their truck. The Deliverance eaters are like, they've fallen asleep outside. And Marion is really disturbed by the one guy who chose to be an eater, because she doesn't like that she's an eater. She hates that she is that way. So as quietly as they can, they get their truck going and they escape. But Natural Born Eater chases them out. I guess he didn't want them to leave. It was weird. Because according to Sully, there's a code amongst eaters that you don't eat an eater, is what he says. You don't eat an eater. So I don't really know why these other eaters were upset that they were leaving, but that's the last that we see of them. We finally get to see Marion's mom in the institution, and she's missing her hands. Do you know why she's missing her hands? Because she fucking ate them off. I'm wondering if she did that when Marion was a baby to keep her from hurting her or anybody else. And also now I have another question that just came to mind. So if Janelle has been institutionalized voluntarily. If you're an eater, if you're a cannibal, I'm assuming that in the institution, if she's been institutionalized since Maren was a baby when she was 18, if you're an eater, don't you have to eat people? But if she's been institutionalized for all this time, oh, I think my cat needs to go to the bathroom. Excuse me. Need to go? All right. Okay, so I'm assuming that the institution does not feed Janelle humans. So how does she live? I'm confused. Janelle had hoped that Maren's dad would stay with her, but just in case it became too much for him, she wrote a note so that the nurse would give it to Maren if she ever showed up at the institution. And when she does, Maren reads it, and then at the end, Janelle leaps at her and tries to put her out of her misery, because in this note, in this letter, she basically tells Maren that they can't have a normal life as eaters. They can't be happy. They can't fall in love. They can't have a family. And basically, they're better off dead, is the gist. The nurse grabs Janelle off of Maren. Maren runs out. She's so upset. And Lee is waiting for her outside. And when they go to a gas station, Maren decides that she's going to go it alone. Probably a mixture of seeing Lee jack off somebody else and the fact that they ate somebody who had a family. She's very upset about this, and the fact that her mom is batshit and she really feels like she's truly alone. So she goes it alone. Maren, she spirals a little bit. As I said, she leaves Lee for a short time, but eventually she runs back into his sister and finds out where he's been camping. And they reunite and decide to attempt to live a normal life together. And during this reconciliation, Lee lets out a little tidbit, a little bit of info about his background and his dad, who was an eater. And turns out Lee ate his daddy. Yeah. So I guess his dad was not only an eater, but he was a drunk eater. And at one time, he attacked him and his sister. And I guess his sister didn't get the eater gene. She seems normal. So I guess one sibling could be an eater and the other could be completely normal. And to keep his dad from hurting anybody else, he ties him up in a barn and later eats him whole. So there's that. Maren gets a job at a college bookstore. They have an apartment together. But just as Janelle's note said, she was not destined for a happy ending. So, do you remember Sully? Yes, Sully is back. And Sully is not happy. So he finds her again. She comes in her apartment one day and something is weird. She sees a bag on her bed and recognizes that it's Sully's bag. And Sully is on top of her in bed. You sense something bad's about to happen, but Lee walks in, and then Lee brings a plastic bag to a knife fight because Sully has a knife in his hand and Lee tries to suffocate him with a plastic bag, but is stabbed in the process. He gets Sully to the bathtub. Maren stabs the shit out of Sully, and then through one of his stab wounds, pulls his heart out and eats it. And then Maren goes back into the room, into Sully's bag, and discovers his trophy hair rope thing. Every time he kills somebody, he like weaves some hair into this like hair rope thing. It's disgusting as it sounds. And finds some hair that she recognizes. And that is Lee's sister's hair. Apparently Sully was so butthurt that Maren chose somebody her own age that he killed his competitor's sister, and he wove her hair into his creepy ass hair rope thing trophy. Lee sees this and at the same time is dying from his wounds. So Now, they can't call 911 because there's blood all over their apartment and a dead old guy with his heart missing in the bathtub. And so, knowing that he's going to die, he tells Marin to eat him alive, bones and all. Hence, the title of the movie, this is where we end. I felt like the ending was appropriate. It's brutal, it's sad. And she does it. I mean, at first she's like, no, but then she's like, okay, yeah, it's a brutal ending, but it's fitting. And the very end of the movie, you see them on this hill, you know, overlooking all this land and together and happy, even though they couldn't be that way IRL. Very good original movie, would recommend. And I was thinking about, I was going to give this 4 out of 5 stars, but I was like, no, what is a better rating system? And I discovered the best rating system of all. It's completely mine. I'm going to use this for every movie. What else but Freddy's? So I'll give it 4 out of 5 Freddy's. The Freddy Krueger will be my rating system. 4 out of 5 Freddy's. Every movie will be rated on a scale of 5 Freddy's. Because it's my favorite. Nightmare on Elm Street 4 is my favorite movie. Love Freddy, only appropriate. We don't use stars. We use Freddy's over here. All right, well, that is the end of this episode. But if you want to hear more, subscribe. Leave a good review if you liked this. If you want to see me in video, subscribe to me on YouTube under Alexandra Matthews. I have an Instagram page, personal Instagram page, Alexandra Matthews. My Horror Mom podcast page, it's Horror Mom Podcast. And I also have a Spooky Mom podcast, formerly known as Beyond Unsolved, which I talk about true crime and paranormal things. And I think that's about it. So let me know what you thought of this movie. Did you like it? Did you not like it? I thought it was great. If you didn't like it, I don't know about your taste. I'm just kidding. All right, well, that is it. And I will see you in my next video or my next podcast episode.